Igniting, inspiring, and evoking the fire within.
It's never as bad as you think it is. We always focus on how bad it is, and then I don't know where I've heard the quote, but they say most of the things that you think are detrimental or the world's going to end, they never come to fruition. You know, we worry about a lot of things that never really happen. So try not to focus on what might happen and push to focus on what will happen.
You're listening to the What's Your Inspiration podcast with Fox Beyer.
Hello and welcome to episode 45 of the What's Your Inspiration podcast. Today, a very special guest on. He's a writer, he's a blogger, he's an author, a reporter, and a Brooklynite. He is Jerry Del Priore. Jerry, how are you today?
Very well.
Jerry, is Brooklynite acceptable? Can I say Brooklynite?
Yes, you may.
Is that what Brooklynites say when they're out of Brooklyn? When they're asked? Okay. So I scored on this one. You know, Jerry and I met yesterday. He interviewed me for his blog, and I thought you'd be a good guest because you bring some different things to the table than a lot of my previous guests. Now, nowadays you're spending time between Brooklyn and Chatham here, Chatham, New Jersey. What are some of the best parts of Brooklyn and Chatham? Let's do a tale of the tape.
Brooklyn has great nostalgia to it. Coney Island doesn't get any better than that in the summertime. The food, can't beat a Nathan's hot dog. Great pizza. And just the Brooklyn attitude, something, you can't beat. However, New Jersey people have that same attitude, depending where you are in New Jersey. But I love Chatham. I love them both. It's great to bounce them off each other because it's a different dynamic. Go from the hustle and bustle of New York City to the peaceful and serenity of Chatham. Yet it still has its nice, spots to go out and eat and enjoy.
So if you were to retire tomorrow, where would you go?
Retirement is far from not really in the equation right now. But if I can go, I'd probably somewhere in New Jersey. I like Chatham, so I can see myself being here.
It's a nice little spot. It's a nice little spot, nice little nook here in New Jersey as we sit in my living room. Now, both of you and I are baseball junkies, and we've had a lot of experiences in the game. Could you go back and recount one of your earliest baseball memories?
The first time I entered Shea Stadium. When you're a kid, the world is a lot bigger to you. Just going and seeing the field and the stadium itself, it was larger than life. It's something that brings me back. I can't. It's hard to describe, but I was awestruck on just seeing the perfectly manicured lawn, all the seats, the noise. And back then they weren't so great, but that didn't really matter to me. I just loved being at the game.
Yeah, you didn't know it then. We never discussed this directly, but you grew up a Mets fan?
Yes, I did.
For sure. You idolized who?
John Stearns, catcher for the Mets. I idolized as a kid. Lee Mazzilli, fellow Brooklynite. Lincoln High School alum. Guys like that, Mets didn't have many superstars, if any at all, but those were guys I looked up to. John Stearns was a great
catcher.
And a great safety in college.
Yes, for the University of Colorado. I'm trying to think, because I have a relationship with John Stearns. So in my time with Harrisburg back in 07, 08, and 09, he was managing there. And so we've kept in touch over the years. He is he's a character and a great baseball man for sure. Sure. One of the most booming voices. He would love to teach bunting because one of the things he would do when out in the field as a manager teaching bunting, he would deliberately stand on third base and yell at the batter at home plate, talk about bunting. I remember distinctly in Harrisburg one afternoon before a game, Justin Maxwell was working on his base hit bunting. He's got some time in the big leagues with various teams, and he Stearnsy would stand on third base when he could very well be standing at home plate and talking face to face with Maxwell, and he would just project his voice because he'd love to. He could very easily do it. And an all-star, I think 2 or 3 times with the Mets, draft pick of the Phillies, I believe. So that's awesome. And we didn't talk about that yesterday.
No.
You mentioned Lincoln High School. Did you go to Lincoln High School?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But Lincoln High School had a lot of famous people come out of that school, including the actor, his name escapes me now. I think he was an officer and gentleman too. It'll come to me later.
It'll come to you down the line. Just blurt it out any time that we're talking.
Willie, I was a fan of Willie Randolph, even though he played for the Yankees, but he went to Thomas Jefferson High School in Brooklyn. A lot of good ball players came out of Brooklyn. Not as many now. I guess that's a product of not as many kids playing the game. But something that you always remember. You always pull for the gentleman that comes locally.
For sure. And we talked about him yesterday, a Brooklyn guest, episode 31, Joe Burke, a Brooklynite. I don't know where he went to high school, but Nassau County Community College and St. John's University.
Former Yankee farmhand.
Yankee farmhand, drafted in the year 2005, and Somerset Patriots. Championships in 08 and 09. Currently living in the state of Indiana. Him and his wife, Mary Kate, child coming in September. So we're all connected here on the podcast. Listen, we've been in baseball, both of you, for a long time. Fill in the blank. Out of many things that keep you coming back to the ballpark, the main thing is
just the overall excitement of the game, which people don't find baseball exciting. It's really a thinking man's game, a thinking person's game, I should say. A lot of female fans out there. There's a game within the game. It is a game of inches. As you knew last night.
Yeah, we talked about that, yes. So, our game last night ended at a play at the plate in which the catcher dropped the ball, but the umpires failed to see it. But we digress.
Yes.
We digress. Yeah, it's I like this. 90-foot wars. 90-foot wars. It's a series of 90-foot wars, and it's the mental portion of it is huge. But excuse me. So it's that. It's that for you. Just the nuances of the game, if you will. Outstanding. So it's the nuances of the game that keep you coming back.
Correct.
Can you remember your first baseball experience?
Just like I mentioned before, walking through, not even seeing the actual game, just walking through the gates. Shea Stadium was very unique in that it was like, even back in its day, it was sort of, I hate to say this, but it was sort of a dump.
Planes going over and all this stuff. Okay.
But just walking up the stairs, and it felt like I was going to heaven. The trip it was that long. And just going from the concession stands into the actual seating area and seeing the field was just overwhelming in a good way.
Yeah, it's the enormity of the field. It's the enormity once you come out of the breezeway and you see just the enormity of the outfield grass is that has always. I'm 40 years old. It's still, that perspective is still awe. It really, really strikes you. It's awe-inspiring. It takes your breath away for a minute. I'm right there with you. Okay. Game. What, which, and where. So, I know you may listen to a couple episodes down the line here, but this game, Jerry, I'm going to give you a quote from a book, a person, a movie, and you tell us from where it came. I might ask you to fill in the blank. And this has to do with a lot of what you do as a writer, some of your hobbies, some of your likes throughout life. Question, are you ready?
Yes.
He certainly is. Okay, so Jerry, the first one is a quote. Fill it in. There is no growth in the...
I don't have a clue.
Are you sure? And there's a bunch of ways you could fill this in. I mean, you could stump me. There is no growth in the...
I can add anything?
You can add anything you want.
There is no growth in the negative.
There is no growth in the negative because all you do is sink. All you do is sink. I had thought of this. There is no growth in the comfort zone. Because you wrote to me yesterday that said some people that were your inspirations because they constantly tried to get you out of your comfort zone. My question to you is, who are these people that try to get you out of the comfort zone that are in your life, and how do they try to do this?
I would say family, my mom, my dad, they're pushing you to do something you usually don't do. It's very easy just to fall into a comfort zone and be happy with what you have, but you need to strive for something bigger and better. I think every day.
Can you give us an example? Maybe that's something mom said or dad said, or even your girlfriend as well.
My first book, I wasn't really as an experienced writer as I am now. And to do it, I was over my head, and I really didn't realize it. And I believe sometimes it's better not to realize something like that, because you think of that, you think of the limitations, and you don't think of the goal. Sometimes we think how far we have to go instead of how far we have gone. So I really blindly went into it. I wanted to do it, and I really didn't think about all the work it took to complete it, which was a lot of work, a lot of interviews, a lot of time rewriting, and then you become almost like a perfectionist, a fanatic. Each and every word is it's tough to complete a thought and everything, because you want everything to be perfect. And being like a new author was difficult. I had to let that go and just allow the words to flow, and then worry about it at the end. That was the most important lesson I learned. And to do it, it's something I never did before. And then, a lot of people, family members, pushed me to do it. Some people, I know they probably didn't think, you never did anything like this before, you probably can't do it. So that was the driving force to finish it. Yeah.
95% of the world is going to tell you that you can't do it. But like you said, like how you filled in that quote, there's no growth in the negative. So you get away from those negative people and you surround yourself smartly, like you have, with friends and family that believe in you. What's the name of that first book, Jerry?
Running Through Roadblocks. 20 inspirational stories of courageous athletic warriors.
Wow. Could you, of those 20 stories, I'm putting you on the spot here, do you have a favorite?
Jim Eisenreich, 15-year major leaguer, former 15, his story is great, overcoming Tourette's syndrome when no one really knew much about it, and how he struggled from being a promising baseball player, climbing the ranks, because I think he jumped from, I want to say single A or double A to the major leagues, and how he battled when he got there because his symptoms were beyond control, and how he took himself out of baseball. I think he was gone for like 2 or 3 years, and then he went back and he finished his career. Ultimately, he won a championship with the Florida Marlins. But his life was so up and down. It's very inspiring that he really never gave up on himself.
For sure. And do you have a relationship with him today at all?
No, not really, no. No, but I keep an eye on, he has a Tourette's Syndrome Foundation, and does a lot of work to, support people, and kids like him growing up who struggle. It has various degrees of difficulty, but they struggle because it's a condition that's really, to the outside person, they don't know why people are exhibiting those symptoms. So, and he does a lot of work for these kids to find something they're good at to boost their self-confidence.
What's a life lesson we can learn from Jim Eisenreich's story?
Try not to always focus what other people are thinking about you, and to work on yourself to overcome your own difficulties and challenges in life.
Outstanding. I mean, we spoke of this yesterday. I mean, I knew a little bit about his story when you brought him up, and like I told you, I can recall looking at his baseball card as a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid and seeing 1984 and then 1987, and then thought, wow, he's been through something. And I knew it at that point in my life. I didn't know what it was until later, and then we talked about him. That SOB could hit. He could really hit. Jerry, that was a tough one. We're gonna go push on the first one. Let's go to number 2 in What, Which, and Where. And it reads like this. It is a quote that reads, "A lot of success in baseball has to do with being intense without being tense." Who said that? Fellow Brooklynite.
Joe Torre?
He certainly did. And you have a little bit of a Joe Torre story to share with us when you were 13 years old.
I met him at a public signing at a bank, and he was a player manager for the Mets at the time, and just getting his autograph on a ball was like larger than life. I didn't realize that, years later, probably 13 years later, he would take the Yankees to the first championship in a while. So it was great to meet him, and that stood with me for a long, long time, even to this day. Just being like, wow, he's a manager, he's a professional baseball player, and even then I knew that he can really hit. A lot of people don't really, they remember him more for his managerial career, but he was a great hitter with the Cardinals. I guess he was decent with the Mets, but he did most of his...
Atlanta a little bit?
Yeah, Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. I think an MVP in 1970, 71, he would always joke, I got 200 hits and I couldn't run a lick. I mean, that just shows you that the man could hit. I had an opportunity, way back. I met him briefly when I threw out a ceremonial first pitch years ago in 97. And then a few weeks ago, he's a friend of our owner with Somerset, Steve Califer. And he came into the clubhouse after BP one day about a month ago and briefly addressed the team. So, good stuff. Hey, give us 3 words that you think of when describing Joe Torre.
Perseverance. He had a lot of challenges in his life that were hard to deal with as a kid, but didn't stop him from reaching the major leagues, and then becoming a great manager, and now he's a baseball executive, correct?
Yes. From special voice for Major League Baseball. We talked about how we knew his story about he had an abusive father, but he was really tight with his siblings, and his dislike for loud noises because of all the yelling in the house and him growing up. So he's certainly a story of perseverance. Okay, so we reflected on your little bit of your personal life, baseball. I mean, you're a 1980s rocker, so I'm gonna go there with this. It's a quote from an 80s rock band. It goes like this. It's a lyric. No love, I need protection. Feels like I'm on a production line.
This is a 1980s group?
This is a 1980s band. We didn't discuss them yesterday. We talked about Rat. We talked about Dokken, Guns N' Roses. This is none of them, but I want to see how deep your love for 1980s hair bands.
Hit me with that again?
Sure. No love, I need protection. Feels like I'm on a production line.
I'll take a guess and say Poison.
That's a great guess. A band, to me, a lot like Poison. You want one more guess? Think of the ocean. Think of one of the biggest predators in the ocean.
Great White?
Great White. You know the song? You've had a long night. You don't want to...
I draw a blank.
Face the Day. It's from Face the Day. There was a line about invisible jaundice in there that I looked at the lyrics yesterday. I could not find the line in the song about invisible jaundice, so I went with that one. So, yeah, I mean, you grew up playing the drums, and you were telling me yesterday that you wanted to play them, but it's 8 p.m. in Brooklyn. You can't do that. You can't do that and make all that noise. So I mean, do you still have a drum kit? Do you still dabble?
Yes, I do still have a drum kit, and I have dabbled time to time, but not presently. I would love to bring my drum set to Chatham, but I think they would...
Well, let's go!
They would establish some sort of ordinance to kick me out.
It probably would. If you're playing in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, okay, but weekends at night, it probably would be frowned upon. But and that was cool how we sort of connected there. We're going to start to wrap this up. Jerry, this has been great. We know all heroes don't wear a cape, but if you had an opportunity to take a hour car ride with one of these three following people, who would it be and why? You ready?
Yes.
Shirley Povich, Joe Torre, or Steven Adler?
Steven Adler's a drummer?
He's a drummer for Guns N' Roses. Let's switch that and go John Bonham.
I have to say Joe Torre.
Joe Torre. And tell us why, and what would be your first question to him?
Wow. I would say he's known for having this quiet confidence about him. He doesn't seem like he ever raised his voice when he was managing. I would say, how do you do it? How do you keep it all together and get you guys to play the way they play without, blowing a gasket?
And listen, I mean, I would think that it's because of the upbringing, because he doesn't want to be that way like his dad. I'm sure his dad had some good qualities, but that way like his dad. And I heard David Justice say this, and I swear he was taking it right out of Joe Torre's mouth when he played for the Yankees back in the early 2000s. He said, when you're relaxed, you're confident. When you're confident, you're better. I'm thinking that came out of Joe Torre's mouth. I'm thinking, and it certainly did help that Mr. Torre is a New York City kid. I think that helped, but he has to this day great people skills and just understand what it takes to bring people together. One of the things he said to us in the clubhouse was, listen, as a team, you don't have to like each other, but you have to respect each other. And that was one of the last things he said before he left. And then he said, walking out, he looked at one of his rings and he said, it took me 50 years to get one of them, and then they started coming one after the other. And he was a grateful man as he left the clubhouse. Jerry, you have a blog, you're an author. Plug some of your stuff.
The blog I've been working on for 4 years is called BrooklynSportsWorld.com, and I cover sports and health on it, mainly sports, but I do have a background in health and fitness. And I have another blog that's 6 months old, and that's called NYNJEntertainmentEats.com, and it covers food and my other love, music, and anything entertainment related.
Gotcha.
And they're labors of love.
They are labors of love, as you can tell in his voice. You are a type 1 diabetic.
Yes, I am.
Could you empty your pockets figuratively and give some advice for those who may be struggling with something and think they've hit rock bottom?
It's never as bad as you think it is. We always focus on how bad it is, and then I don't know where I've heard the quote, but they say most of the things that you think are detrimental or the world's going to end, they never come to fruition. We worry about a lot of things that never really happen. Mm-hmm. So try not to focus on what might happen and push to focus on what will happen.
Yeah. Obstacle is the way. Matt Holliday. Situations are exactly as bad as we think they are. Jerry, this has been an absolute blast. One last question. Who would you like to hear on an upcoming podcast?
That's a loaded one. There's so many people.
Who can we bring in this living room here in Chatham, New Jersey, and have a little chat with? A 40-minute chat.
How about the president?
How about Mr. Donald Trump? Listen, he's not far. He's in Bedminster, New Jersey. I mean, he's friends with the owner of the team that I work for. It's certainly within reach. 2 or 3 degrees of separation, if you will. And
I actually got to meet him one time.
You did?
Well, I was next to him, I should say, at a charity event. And he's a really tall guy, which I really never realized until that moment.
Did not know that he was all that tall, but he's tall in stature. I did not know that he was tall in stature. Jerry, this has been an absolute blast, from your personal stories to music to baseball, and please, people, if you would go ahead and take a look at his blog and a lot of his literature. It's I know we say it a lot in the podcast. It is very inspiring, but in a lot of different aspects in life. Jerry, this has been an absolute blast. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much, Fox.
This will wrap up episode 45 of the What's Your Inspiration podcast. Jerry and I will talk at you all later. Take good care.
You have been listening to the What's Your Inspiration podcast with Fox Beyer, because impact on each other is the greatest currency you could ever have.